Jai Saparikar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Jiu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Jiu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Vinod Vihari Jiu Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai. Jai Shri Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki Jai. Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai. Shri Nityananda Mahajanna Ki Jai. Shri Pancha Tattva Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. The ladies sit over there. They'll be coming. We should also put a chair for Chara Chandrika. She always sits on a chair. Vandeham Shri Guru Shijataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Trishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most beloved worshipable Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams at the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So, we've been reading Sri Upadeshamrita commentary of Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And we're going to complete that collection of essays. But first, we're going to take a little side journey into the unlimited, transcendental, spiritual world of Sri Krishna's Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yes. Because, in fact, in 1 week from today is the anniversary celebration of the appearance of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is none different than Krishna himself. That day is called Gita Jayanti. So, it is on our Vaishnava calendar. We will be celebrating that day, which is the coming December 25th, which just so happens to also be in the Western calendar, the day called Christmas, which is not the actual appearance day of Lord Jesus Christ, but it is celebrated as such. So, that is also Ekadashi on that day. And every year on that Ekadashi day, or that Titi, the celebration of Srimad Bhagavad Gita is all throughout the world and all throughout various Hindu organizations and temples also. The Bhagavad Gita is celebrated. So there's some senior devotees who are going to be coming here for that festival that we're holding on that day. And what we're going to do on that day is we're going to actually read the entire Bhagavad Gita, just the Sanskrit and the English verses. And I've been thinking about it, and I think the best way to do it is that we do it the way Srila Prabhupada instructed. I remember in 1975, when we were producing Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita in Los Angeles, California, we had a book production marathon. Yes, very famous time. And during that time, we used to sit together in the morning, those who were had the seva of working on the publication work. One thing, now the class has started, so no phones, no anything. No screen, no phones. So, yeah, we were reading a chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam every morning. Because we were producing also Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto. And so we would sit together, and Prabhupada had instructed the way to do it. He said that you should first of all chant the whole chapter Sanskrit. then you read the English verses after. So I think this is the best way, rather than reading Sanskrit, English, Sanskrit, English, Sanskrit, English, rather that we should chant the whole Sanskrit chapter and then read the English. That way we will get the full flow. Yes. So we'll go like that, chapter by chapter. We'll split it into 2 parts. We're talking about starting at 9 o'clock in the morning and giving approximately 3 hours. We'll see how far we get, but we want to chant half, which would be 9 chapters in the morning, and then the other half in the afternoon period, which will begin at 4, I think it's 4 o'clock we're going to begin. So, and if we need a little bit extra time, we'll see where we get to by that time. Maybe we'll have to extend it a little bit. But that's our yagya. We want to perform Gita Yagya. So, beginning from today, I'm going to begin to, we'll take a break, temporary break, from completing the reading of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Videshamrita commentaries, and we'll begin to read the Bhagavad Gita preface and introduction of our beloved Srila Prabhupada, which is truly wonderful and astonishing. And after we read that, then we're going to read the preface and introduction of our beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj's edition of the Bhagavad Gita, in which he presented also the commentaries of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So in this way we'll honor and worship the Bhagavad Gita, because Bhagavad Gita is very powerful. And also, there is the book called the Gita Mahatmya, which discusses the glories of the Bhagavad Gita. On the day that we're going to recite the Gita, the whole Gita, we're also going to read a couple of pages from the Gita Mahatmya, which describes each chapter and various benedictions that come. That was a suggestion of Radhakanta Prabhu, so we'll do it also that way. But I'm going to look into, I believe I have a copy, a digital copy here of the Gita Mahatmya. So in this way, we're going to remember how we were saved from the endless ocean of material existence by Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and how that became our baby milk, mother's breast milk, when we first became devotees, every day, reciting 1 or 2 slokas of Bhagavad Gita, having class, discussing. This went on for many, many years. Many years. And one important point that everyone should understand is that without knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, which is practically speaking the foundation of all the Vedic knowledge, because it's spoken by Sri Krishna, who is the very personality who is to be realized by the Vedic knowledge. So, without some foundation in knowing what Sri Krishna spoke, it will be very difficult to make advancement in understanding all the imports and the very deep, deep philosophy that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give to the world. We cannot skip over the Bhagavad Gita. Some devotees, they have come to the Krishna consciousness movement, but even though they've been in the movement for some time, considerable time, they have not properly studied the Bhagavad Gita presentation. So everyone who is a devotee of Sri Krishna must, at least one time, and later on more times, everyone must read the Bhagavad Gita from the first shloka all the way to the end, and with the purports and the commentaries, so that we can understand. Just imagine, we are going to be reading Srila Prabhupada in his preface. He's telling that Sri Krishna appears in this material universe once in a day of Brahma. And he indicates how long time that is. He writes it there in his preface. That means once every 8,600,000,000 years. And he appears only once. And he appeared very recently. Very recently, by Lord Brahma's calculation, it was just a few moments ago, practically. 5,000 years ago, Krishna appeared and spoke the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Gita, he also gives the information that he's speaking it because although he spoke it millions of years before, to the sun god Vivasvan in our universe, the god of the sun planet, Surya Dev. But gradually that knowledge became lost over time. So now he's again re-speaking it to Arjuna. So, considering the fact, and Prabhupada is going to explain that so beautifully, how the actual father of the Krishna consciousness movement is Sri Krishna himself. He's the father of the Krishna consciousness movement. He's the one who started the Krishna consciousness movement. And the Bhagavad Gita is his direct words, which are non-different than him. So, we're going to read the preface right now from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. And it's very nice how Prabhupada is talking about how he ended up writing this Bhagavad Gita as it is. Originally, I wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, in the form in which it is presented now. So what he's talking about is the current presentation that we have, and he explains with all the purports and also illustrations, word for word, Sanskrit, everything. So he's saying he actually did originally write the Bhagavad Gita as it is in the form in which it is presented now. And when this book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanations for most of the original verses of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. You remember that version? Yes, this is the first one I got. First one. A little bit purple colored cover. And it was published by another company called Macmillan Publishing Company. But they would not agree because they didn't know how well it would sell. You know, it was a little bit experimental for them. So they would not agree to publish the entire manuscript the way that Prabhupada wrote it. It had to be cut short. Because the original, I think, is at least, well, you could count the pages, but it's double. And he said they had to cut it short to less than 400 pages. Yeah. And it didn't have the explanations for most of the original verses. Believe that. The purports. And I remember when it finally was printed by the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, it was like, what, 1974, something like that.
74,
Yeah, 74, 75, when it was printed in its full version. It took 5 years. I couldn't believe it, that it took that long. I don't know why. I have no idea why the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust took so long to print the original version with all the purports and everything. But we had to wait all that time. And in the meantime, all we had was this little Bhagavad Gita, which didn't have the synonyms. I don't think it had the synonyms in that version. Yeah. So, Prabhupada is pointing this out. He says, in all of my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Ishopanishad, etc., the system is that I give the original verse, its English transliteration, the word-for-word Sanskrit English equivalents, translations, and purports. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly, and it makes the meaning self-evident. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript. But later on, when the demand for Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Hey, Dinabandhu Prabhu, why aren't you in here?
I think it this room better.
Yeah, but this is a class. This is a face-to-face class. Are you looking at your phone over there?
Yeah.
No, you have to be in the class. I'm not happy with that at all. That people are in that room looking at their phones while the class is going on. So, I mean, I'm getting upset about it. And in the future, if somebody's doing that, they can't be here or there. That's my instruction. So, but later on, when the demand for Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. Soundly and progressively. Our Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural, and transcendental due to its being based on Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world. Now, when Prabhupada's writing this must be around 75 or so. He says, it is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially amongst the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and the grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life members of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers, they used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that I have started the Krishna consciousness movement in America. But actually, the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself, since it was started a very long time ago, but is coming down to human society by disciplic succession. If I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but it is due to my eternal spiritual master, His divine grace, Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahansa Paribrajacharya 108 Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any adulteration. Before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. So what does he mean by that?
We're giving the meaning as originally intended by Krishna.
What does it mean that they're doing it to fulfill their personal ambition? What's their personal ambition? Yeah. They want to make some speculative interpretation and then become known for this. So many. We've seen. There are so many versions of Bhagavad Gita that are just speculative interpretations, and they have no connection with the disciplic succession. So,
I had one in college.
You what?
Penguin.
You had Penguin. Yeah, the Penguin version. So, our business, but our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. His mission. What is his mission? What is Krishna's mission? Huh?
What were you asking?
Yes, well.
To reclaim all the fallen conditioned souls entrapped in the
Oh, we need that other microphone. Where's the other microphone? Yes, Krishna, he has his mission. So what is Krishna's mission? Why did Krishna come?
To give an opportunity for all the fallen conditioned souls to return to their original consciousness, their original home.
Yes. Otherwise, if he didn't come, no one would know. No one would know who is the Supreme Lord. No one would know about his abode, his eternal transcendental pastimes, and they would not know their relationship with him, that he is the original father, grandfather, mother of the entire universe. Conditioned souls would not know if Krishna did not come. So it's Krishna's mission, as he said, to reclaim these fallen conditioned souls. So our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, the philosopher, or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna, despite all their other knowledge. So when Krishna says, Manmana bhava madabhakto madhya jimam namaskuru, etc., then we, unlike the so-called scholars, we do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. This is a point that Prabhupada raised so many times, that the Mayavadis, in their interpretations, in their purports, they say that it is not to Krishna, the person, that we should surrender. But what do they say?
To that within Krishna.
Yeah, the impersonal absolute they call it. The impersonal absolute that is within Krishna. So Prabhupada is making a very serious statement here. He's saying that we don't say, like they say, that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. No, Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara, disciplic succession. This is the key. He says generally the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis without perfect knowledge of Krishna, they try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavad Bhashya. You know what that is? Do you remember?
The commentaries of Mayavadis. Bhashya just means their commentaries, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can you say anything about? You take the mic.
Well, there's an old saying in English: they want heaven, but they don't want God in it. They want to read Bhagavad Gita, but they're so resentful. They're really just trying to remove the speaker and act like some kind of void spoke it within him or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So what is this thing called Mayavad? What is it that they put forward in their commentary? Mayavadis.
That everything is an illusion. Everything is everything is an illusion. I mean, even this scenario of Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita, this is not that he's not God. There's just some sort of like impersonal God within him that's somehow speaking this.
Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Govinda Jiu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Radhe. Okay, if they say that everything is an illusion, right? Well, how is that possible that how do they explain that everything is an illusion?
I think they say that everything that we see is generated from illusion, that even the concept of God has been generated from Maya, and that's why we're calling it the Maya theory, that somehow even God's existence has been kind of like burped out of this, you know, big void, or this big whatever to call it, big, I guess, you know, this big illusion.
So they don't believe anything is real? Is there any reality according to Mayavadis?
Well, I think that the popular reality among them seems to be that everything is one. So the difference between you and me, you and God, me and anything, that's all an illusion. So I don't know. I mean, if you call one big some kind of like, I mean, sure, there's Brahma. Brahma means the biggest and growing bigger. There is a big spirit. We don't deny that, but
No, we're talking about Mayavadis.
right,
Not we.
right. Well, okay.
What
we
do
agree
they
that
say?
there is a big spirit, but these Mayavadis seem to think that that the existence of God is no more real than the existence of
What is
these
God?
bodies.
When you use the word God, you're saying that they believe the existence of God. But what is their conception
Brahma.
of God?
I just said Brahma.
Brahma. And what is Brahma?
The impersonal feature of the Supreme Spirit. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a material thing. It certainly is spirit,
Yeah.
and it certainly is supreme and big. I mean, the word Brahma in Sanskrit implies big, bigger, biggest. There's certain, you know, there is a large size implied in Brahma that perhaps like like all drops of water could become an ocean. You know, and you hear a lot of Mayavad or Sunyavad philosophy just saying that the separate existence of anything is an illusion, and that illusion itself has created them. I mean, by contrast, I mean, maybe it's more clear to explain by contrast what our or the real philosophy is, but I think you already know that. So I mean, we're saying no, Maya under the sanction of Bhagavan has given so many different forms, right? Yeah.
You mean what we say?
Yeah.
Or they say?
Yeah. Well, we're calling their philosophy Mayavad because when you really boil it down, that makes Maya all supreme, because only by Maya's little, you know, machinations has even God achieved a form. Is so absurd. So we've just called that whole philosophy a Mayavad, you know, Mayavad, and you know, we call it how you know. I mean, there is a Brahmavad, but there's some slight difference there between the Brahmavadis.
Mayavad, Maya means illusion.
Yeah.
And Vad means philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
So Mayavadism is the philosophy of illusion. The question is, what are they talking about? If there's an illusion, then there also has to be some entity that is illusioned by the illusion. This is the whole point. We know that the philosophy of Vedanta Sutra, which is the conclusion of all the philosophical knowledge of the Vedas, written by Srila Vyasadeva, one of the main topics of the Vedanta Sutra is the topic of Bhed and Abhed, difference and non-difference. So, difference of what? And non-difference of what? This is a very, very broad and deep philosophy, because the Vaishnava conception of the absolute truth is that, first of all, janmadyasya yataha, atato brahma jigyasa, that Brahma means the absolute truth, from whom everything comes. Janmadi asya yataha. Everything emanates from Brahma, everything is maintained by Brahma, and everything is destroyed in the end by Brahma. So, that philosophy of oneness and difference is pertaining to what emanates from Brahma, Brahma being the absolute truth. Now, what is that Brahma? That has to be investigated. That's why the Vedanta Sutra is there. What is Brahma? What is the absolute truth from which everything has come? Yes, it does pertain to the meaning of size, that the greatest. Brahma means the greatest. Of course, Brahma would be the greatest because everything that exists has come from Brahma. But what is Brahma? So, there is the understanding that Brahma, Satyam, Jagan, Mithya. This is what the Mayavadis say. The Mayavadis, their interpretation is that truth or Satyam is Brahma. He is the eternal, supreme truth and reality from whom everything comes. But then they say, Jagan Mithya. Jagan means the material universe. Material universe. What we see, we live here. We don't see anything beyond this universe. We don't know anything beyond this universe. So Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. They say the whole world is false. Mithya. Mithya means false. So that philosophy of Mayavadism negates that anything that we perceive here, including our own bodies, everything, it's all non-existent illusion. It is illusion. with that false understanding, the Mayavadis also conclude that in our universe, any demigod entities or any avatar entities who come into the universe who are not like the mortal human beings of this world, that they are also temporary and illusory. This is their philosophy, because they don't believe that in the absolute Brahma there is quality, there is form, there is energy, all of these different characteristics. They say, no, Brahma is just oneness, absolute consciousness, no form, nirgun, nirakar, no form, nirakar, sattva, not having form, not having shape. So they believe in the impersonal absolute. Is that true, according to Vedic knowledge, that there is such an impersonal absolute? Yes, it is true. It is true. But that's not the complete truth. That's only a partial understanding of the absolute. Brahmanohi pratishtaha. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the pratishta. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. So there is a very big, perplexing misunderstanding of the absolute knowledge of the Vedas, which was put forward by Sri Shankaracharya. And he preached the impersonal understanding of the absolute. But actually he also preached the personal understanding, because Shankaracharya admitted that Narayana paro avyaktat. Prabhupada writes that in his Gita. That Narayan, that supreme absolute truth, Narayan, Bhagavan, paro avyaktat. He is beyond the avyakta, the impersonal, unmanifested absolute. Narayan is beyond that. And that was stated by Shankaracharya in his commentary. So I'm not going to go too much into this, but we have to understand this. This is a very important point that Prabhupada is making of why he found the necessity to write the Bhagavad Gita as it is and to correct all of this very, very dangerous understanding. So let me go on here. He's saying, so when Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto, madhyaji mam namaskuru, that means always think of me, manmana, mad bhakto, become my devotee, madhyaji, worship me, mam namaskuru, etc. Surrender to me. So we, unlike the so-called scholars, we do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. We don't say that. Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of parampara disciplic succession. Generally, the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis, without perfect knowledge of Krishna, they try to banish or to kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Horrific, horrible. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavad Bhashya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from a Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back to home, back to Godhead. Very dangerous. Our only purpose to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet once in a day of Brahma or every 8,600,000,000 years. Our purpose is the same. This purpose is stated in Bhagavad Gita, and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. There's no point. Lord Krishna first spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. I'm repeating this sentence. To interpret Bhagavad Gita without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society in fulfilling the mission of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. How this is so is explained fully in the Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demonic propensities and mislead people regarding the right understanding of the simple principles of life. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great. And everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that a living entity is eternally a servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion in different varieties of the three modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculator has to undergo this process. So this knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it for his own interest. Last paragraph now. People in general, especially in this age of Kali, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and he demands it. One has to understand this central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, 12th of May, 1971, Sydney, Australia. Gaur Premanandi. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Patitanam Pavadibhyo Vaishnavyo Namo